Now, my name is Geoff Rellis. I'm the CEO and owner of Good Life Gymnastics, a wonderful gymnastics club in the southwest of England. I am lucky enough to have built my business to a position that I'm able to run and manage my business from Brazil, nearly 6,000 miles away. I have 1,000 members per week, roughly, and just over 50 employees that work for my team. So what I'm going to hope to do today is share some of the hints and tips that have helped me build my business into what it is today. And we're going to start with some of the finances. So let's talk about money. This is something that not everybody likes to talk about. I know when sometimes we start a business, or even when we're growing up, we like to put our head under the sand and not talk about it. Or it's not always polite to talk about money. Whereas the thing is, when we're learning about business, it's very important to get used to talking about money, talking to especially friends with businesses, talking about money and understanding money and how it works more. And I thought one of the most valuable things for me early on in my business journey was the understanding of how money in business works and the sort of representation of what a cash flow is, rather than receiving a large amount of money, spending it and panicking when we have things we need to do in the future, like pay taxes, pay employees, or not understanding how my business can really change, how it can grow. Because some of the things we need to do to change and grow are hire employees, build our team, maybe get an office, put our team in an office, maybe onboard some types of software that will improve the efficiency of our business. So really having the understanding of what that will look like across the time periods makes it easier to make these decisions, when to start with certain things, if you can actually afford it, how many things you can do at the same time. And this kind of helps you improve what you're doing and build your journey for the future. So what we're going to do today is we're going to work a little bit around two things: understanding how we set goals that tie into finances, and then we're going to use a worksheet that's going to help us understand, like a health check of our business. And what we're going to do is we're going to look back at, let's say, the previous year of your business, and then try and predict what will happen in the future and try and make decisions on how we want to change. So starting off, what I'm going to do is the first page of the spreadsheet that I'm going to be making available for everyone. This should be downloadable by Class for Kids. So what we're going to do is start to look at goals, the things that we actually want to change in our business. Now, it might be different for everybody. Some of the changes might be that you want to just get a bit more organized. You want to have maybe a slightly better work-life balance, which is something that I've really focused on. Or you want to grow. You want to make your club bigger. You think it's got potential. Maybe you've got waiting lists and you don't know how to, fulfill the demand. So some of the goals I've put down here are things that you might be interested in doing, like hiring a full-time employee, like opening a new venue, buying some new equipment, running a marketing campaign, or starting to use a piece of technology to make your business more efficient, like a CRM, especially a CRM, if you're not already using one. So what I've done here is I've matched out and actually tried to put a reality on what these things are. So, because sometimes we think, oh, I'd love to have, an extra team member. I think it would just be so helpful. But actually trying to understand, right, let's put a number on it today and figure out what that actually means. Because then it creates it into a reality, whether it's how much they cost for the year, and then understanding how much they cost per month. So what I've done here is, let's say, for example, we want to hire someone and try and pay them £24,000. First of all, what we've got to do is understand how much that will actually cost us as a business. So I've just used I've come onto a website here where I've basically just typed into Google employer or salaries employer UK. And then you'll find a website just like this. I've used the accountancy partnership where I can put in this salary. So let's go £24,000. And then I basically just hit calculate. Oh, sorry, got to select this here. And that will give you an understanding of, one, how much to pay them every month, which is this here. So this is going to be their net pay, which is $20,176, and then the total for the year. So this is the reality of what it's going to cost you as a business owner. This is not £24,000. It's going to be roughly $26,165. So then we can throw that over here into our spreadsheet as our yearly cost. This is the actual cost for us as an employer. And then we just divide that by 12, and that will show us how much that is going to cost. And again, you'll see how we'll work that into our worksheet. So this is just to kind of help you get an understanding of what you want to achieve, what are those goals, and how we put them down on paper, and how we actually make them a reality. Now let's move on to the actual health check part. So this is called a cash flow. What I've tried to do is design a very simple cash flow here to try and help, if you've never done something like this, to help you get an understanding of what it looks like, so that in the future you can get an understanding of what your business looks like. And then bit by bit, you can make it more complicated, more detailed, so you can understand what you're spending your money on, where all the fine details are. Now, as you can see here on my spreadsheet, I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. I've designed it in a way that you may become a VAT registered business in the future. It might not be something at the moment. If you're earning under roughly 80 or 85,000, you don't have to register for VAT, so you can keep that. The problem is with our type of business in the UK is that we need to consume VAT. So we need to think about that in the future. So if we go past this threshold, we need to think about working that into how we take and receive and spend our money. So as you can see here, basically what we've done from the top is we've got our monthly income. And basically the idea behind this is what I want you to do when you go away from this webinar today, I want you to go and download your spreadsheets from your business bank for all of the last tax year. Now my tax year is April to March, yours could be different. But what I want you to do is go back to your last financial tax year and download all of the statements for those months. So for me, that's April all the way to March, April 22 to March 23. Download them all, and basically I'm going to take all of the detail from those spreadsheets and I'm going to put it directly in here. Your accountant will be using something similar to this and be able to produce something like this. I've just designed it in a way that fits exactly how I want to see it. So what I'm going to start with here is just keeping it very simple. Basically anything you earn, just put it in here at the top. Now, if you're not a VAT registered company, for now, you can just delete this line, just like this, okay? You can just take it out. But if you are, or if you're planning to be, feel free to leave it in there. So once you put in income like this, it will be there. You can put in every single amount. If you have multiple pieces of income, as you can see the calculation here on the top, I'm pretending I earned 1,000 and then I got another 2,000 and then I got another 3,000. So then it adds up. We just put equals, put a number, put a plus, put a number. It's very simple to make this calculation. This will work out then what your total revenue is, because we'll need to take the VAT before we put in the revenue, okay? Then we have basically two types of things I want you to break your costs down into. So the first cost is basically everything that you need to spend money on that you need to run your business. So you can't actually open and function unless you have these things. So I've kind of broken it down into two things, which is the hire of the venue and your part-time coaches, because these are the things that if you close a session for the night, if you've got a part-time venue, you don't need. Obviously, if you're renting a permanent facility, then that doesn't go in here anymore, because that's a bill you've always got to pay. So just the things that you have to pay, and if you decide to close for one night, you don't pay these things anymore. Kind of like part-time costs, okay? So I've broken them down into here, part-time coaches and I suppose part-time venues, things that we rent one at a time. Then coming down to overheads, these are things that we have to pay every month, whether it's employees or if you're renting a facility. I've tried to break it down into the most simple headings for now. Feel free to add more headings on here if you want to have more, if you want to make it more specific. Feel free to edit this document or copy it and make a slightly different style. I've just put in here your income as the owner, any standing orders. So these are things that you're going to have with your bank. So standing orders, direct debits, if you've got a company credit card, and then I've just put everything else. I've tried to keep it simple for you. So if anything falls outside one of these headings, just put it into this category. So later on, again, once you get more skilled and practice with this, you can break this everything else part up and get a little bit more detail and really understand where you're spending your money. Now, as you can see, if we fill it out like this, let's say, for example, we had our £6,000 in April 22. We spent £600 on part-time coaches, £500 on our venue. That means we've got a gross profit of 3,900. Okay, this is where these kind of words are coming into play. You'll hear these more the more you pay attention to your accountant. Then we've got, let's say, for example, your income, £2,000. Let's say we've got a standing order this month for £50. Direct debit, maybe you've got a phone or something like this. And credit cards, maybe you had to buy some things like first aid supplies or something like this. And then we come down, we understand how much we've spent, our total overheads. Our total spend, so these are our direct costs and our overheads together. And then we understand our net profit. So this is the actual health of the business. If you were to pick up your business today and sell it, someone that wants to buy it will look at two main things: the revenue, how much you're actually earning as a total, and the profit. Because if someone was buying your business, they probably know how much profit they can get out of it. But it's very good to show proof of how it's already performing. If you have a business that's already performing like this, it's probably already got a value and it's already worth something. Now, the aim here is to basically fill it in across month by month. This is going to be very valuable for you because then you can now see what your business looks like across a year. And then coming down here to the bottom, what I've done is I've just duplicate this. So you duplicate last year into next year, and the difference is now we start to make predictions for our next year. So if we understand that costs are going up, you can predict that some costs are going to go up. When we increase them here, we can take a guess. Sometimes what I like to do is maybe change the color of some of these numbers when they're still predicted, and then maybe change them back to a different color once they are actual. Or if you want, you can create one that's completely predicted and then create another one where you put the actuals as the month goes on. And this can be a task that you have on the first week of every month. You download the spreadsheet and you fill in this, so you keep an eye on how things are going throughout the month. Now, where this becomes really valuable, once we have a vision of how the past went, the previous year, once we have an understanding of how that past year went, we can start to make predictions to introduce those goals into the next year. So if we go back here, if we can see this is how we're running, and we're able to make, which if we come here to the end, I've added everything up, 32,000 in profit, then that shows me that we have the ability to do something. We have the ability to grow. And now, for example, if you're a one-man band and you're doing all of these sessions by yourself, more than likely hiring another employee could maybe give you the capacity to increase your business by 50% or double it maybe, because two people doing the same thing, it makes sense, right? We can do more. Or I say 50% because maybe it's a way of you doing a little bit less, standing a little bit more above your business and getting it a little bit more organized, and you're having a better work-life balance. But again, growing these numbers in the right way. So this is the sort of, as we build to the future, what I've tried to do here is build in some examples, so we can also make some predictions with examples in them. So for example, I've taken some of these numbers and I've put in an employee. This is adding a new employee. So for example, if we take these similar numbers and we can see that we make profit for 3 to 4 months, that means we're probably going to, on this example here, you can see that we're going to have 8 to 9 to 10,000 in profit that we've saved for that 4-month period, which means we've got a little bit of wiggle room. So that means if we go and hire someone, we might be negative profit for these next 3 to 4 months. But the thing is, in this example here, we're negative profit by £100 a month, okay? And which means if we have like a pot of money that we've saved that's £9,000 or £10,000, this £100 a month is going to take a small dent in that. But what it will create is opportunity, because if you hire a full-time employee, let's say the first month to 6 weeks to 2 months, you spend training them, making sure they understand how you work, and it stays on brand, that your customers, the children, the parents, get the same experience with this employee as they do get with you. And then the next 6 weeks to 2 months, you can be focusing on the next piece of business that you want. You might not come in straight away, but you can focus on how you get the next amount of classes ready. If it's a new location you're going to add, or if it's new classes you're going to add to an existing location. That's why I've kind of put a 4-month period here, because it can be, let's say for example, a term. The first half term can be the onboarding. The second half term can be planning the new growth. And then usually that means that, let's say for example, in this situation, we did it in the September term, and we used the whole September term to do this work. In January, that's when you should be able to get new business in. So although we've lost some money for 4 months, you can see if we can increase the business in this period, you can see I've increased it here. So we've gone from this jump of 7,500 per month up to 11,000 per month. Okay, and then you can see the actual, almost regardless of percentages, our actual profit number has increased. So again, this will allow us to do more in the future, whether it's if you want to take more money yourself personally, which is a-okay, we should be thinking about this as a business owner, or if it's thinking the same methodology of just let's keep growing for a little while so that in the future I can take a large amount of money without the large amount of work. And this is how you create that, by having more people. Maybe it's something that I can build a future webinar on. We can discuss that more about how we build team structures, and that can support you in a way that you don't have to work 50, 60 hours a week. Some other examples here. I'm actually going to use Class for Kids as a really good example. If you are someone that is still doing handwritten registers or using spreadsheets, I know because I started with this. I think I only did one term like this when I started, and it was very time consuming. So I think I was doing maybe 10, 15, 20 hours a week, keeping this organized. And at the time, I was only running, a handful of classes, maybe 5 to 10 classes. And I think in this, my second term, we onboarded Class for Kids, and it just basically gave me the ability to automate all of that process. I had people arriving to the classes, and I'd never met them, never spoken to them. So even that alone helped me do so much. I didn't have to physically put their name in the register, and I was able just to crack on and do what I'm really good at. And this, what I'm going to show you now, is how we would implement this, something like this, into our cost model. Class for Kids, please forgive me if I don't get the numbers exactly right. This is an example. So basically, Class for Kids is roughly £35 fixed fee a month, and they charge roughly 5% of everything that you earn for the facility to take the money and for the service that they give you. So what we do here is we put the income at the top, like we've done. We put a line here because the money comes out before you even receive it. So once you receive it, that's when you're liable for VAT, which will then come down here. As you can see, filters through just exactly as normal. So this, you can see this is just going to be 5% of whatever you put in here. And then I've put the Class for Kids down here in the credit card because it's something you have to pay every month. If you stop your classes, you still have to pay for it. So we're understanding how we pay for things. Now, if this was the only situation that we're doing, we still have to take the same reality. So if we have been spending 10 to 15 hours a week organizing our registers and this sort of work, you will consume it by doing this. Even if that's the only thing you do, which should allow you to have the ability to do more of what you're good at, which is teaching classes and organizing your gym from a gymnastics perspective. You can improve the quality and implement some better procedures within the gym. So again, allowing you the space to build more revenue, which is the same thing as we do here. What I've designed here is that we've have this income again here of 7,500, and then we should at some point, I've put in here January, be able to increase that if we have this extra function. Then I've got another example as well. If we do both, just to kind of keep giving you that idea, we implement this structure, and we also implement a new employee here as well, which again, is just giving you the idea of how we add in some of these goals. If it was buying a piece of equipment, we could probably just put this in as a direct cost somewhere here because it's a one-off. So that can just go somewhere in here. Again, you can add another line. And generally a one-off will just show you, you'll get more examples here about, let's say we're saving money for 4 months, which means we'll definitely be able to afford that piece of equipment. It might look like you're negative for 1 month, which is okay. Sometimes we have these balances. And we get a real understanding of how we build for the future. So what I'm showing you here today is how we take small steps and actually try and make some of these goals really, really achievable. So I'm going to wrap up this webinar now. Just try to keep it very simple, and I hope the understanding has been there. I hope what I'll do is a quick recap. I'm just going to swing by just getting these goals again, understanding what they are, whether it's hiring an employee, opening a new venue, buying some new equipment, running a marketing campaign, understand what these things actually cost. You can see it here, I've written down what Class for Kids is roughly. I could have spent more time and looked into that, but apologies, Class for Kids. Go back, do some homework, get your spreadsheets, fill out a full year of what a cash flow would look like. Then swap on to the next year. I would recommend doing 2 of these, having a predicted, what you think it could be, and then doing an actual, something that you fill in every single month. It will really make you pay attention to what you're spending on. Sometimes, you know, we might sign up to Spotify and we think this is valuable in the gym, but then we think we don't use it anymore, so let's get rid of it. And you start saving some of these small amounts of money by just paying attention to your numbers on a monthly basis. And then again, put in these goals. So put in whether it's a new employee, whether it's onboarding a new piece of software, whether it's onboarding 3 new employees, which is the kind of thing that we're at the moment. We need to understand where we can add in much more employees, buy more equipment, do marketing campaigns, kind of doing all of this stuff at the same time. Now, if you have any questions on what we've done today, or if you like some of the stuff that I've talked about, and if you're interested in learning more about how I work, and even just the business of gymnastics and this community that we're building here, I have created this Facebook group in the hope that I can create a community where people can come and discuss this type of thing. It's not going to be 100% led by me constantly sending videos and teaching people, but for now what I'd like it to be is a community where people can come and ask questions and talk to each other, share ideas about problems, about things that went well. And what I'd like to do is I would like to do more things like this where I talk about some of the things that I've learned, and hopefully I can give back some of my tips and maybe even get some feedback from you guys in terms of maybe things that you liked or maybe things that you would have done differently. Because I think if we work together on this, if we can create a nice community around this, we will make the gymnastics community bigger. This is a very big market. The children's activity market is very, very large. We generally lose most of our customers, our kids, to football, to dance. So the more I think we can work together and make gymnastics bigger, I think there's a lot we can do together. So you can meet me over here at the Gymnastics Business Community. We've got nothing on there. You can see I've just written, welcome, how can we help today? This video I will be getting this off Class for Kids, and I will be putting it on here if you'd like to catch up and ask questions specifically on this. So this will be on there in the future. And I hope to see you there. So thank you very much, and I'll see you all soon.